So good afternoon once again, my dear parents out there. Namra Lilian Egero is my name, and I welcome you once again on our program Parenting as a Sacred Purpose. So today we want to discuss more about why it's very necessary to raise our children knowing God. It's important for us to know that as children learn reading, they always begin with alphabetics. So, equally, raising children without first knowing God, it is one way of failing them in life. Why? It is the foundation of their life. God is the foundation of every humanity. And so, it's very necessary as parents that we should raise our children knowing God. The other things, just like I was talking about reading, teaching children how to read, they begin with alphabetics. Also, as children, your part as a parent is to raise children to know God. But growing closer to God, discovering, growing their relationship with God, that is part of the Holy Spirit, and it is a long lifetime journey. So as parents, ours is to open a chapter of knowing. The rest is for God. So why today we want to know, why is it necessary? Today we are having a generation that is depressed, a generation that is stressed, a generation that wants to create its own world that is very complicated. And I feel one of the reasons why it is actually the way it is that parents, we have kind of raised our children to think you can grow up, do what you want. You are a master of your own life and you just dictate what you want to do, how you want to do it. Now, today I want us to know that in what I'm going to share in this video, you will be amused how important and why it's very necessary for us to raise our children knowing God, and how it can be a whole changing life story. So, when we are parents, sometimes we assume the way we live our life, we show our children we can do everything. In fact, our life, we are the masters. How we want to do things, how we want to live our life, all we show them, it is in our hands. But when we raise our children to know God, we ourselves, we show them that we have limitations. There's where we can handle, there's where we cannot handle, and we need God's intervention. It may look simple, but that life of raising children, knowing God, and you as a parent showing children that you rely on God, it speaks a lot to them. First, it creates what they call humility. Children keep on growing up, they realize that our parents also have where they have to run to God. There are things they cannot manage, even if they're the ones who brought us onto this world. That pride of being masters of our own life, it starts fading out of their lives. They also realize that we are weak. There are things we struggle with. Because when you're in prayers, when you're saying, I'm asking God to help me in this thing didn't work out, but I pray God helps me next time it works better. They realize that we are also weak. And they get to know that we also need some power, some strength from God to push on. What does that statement speak to your children? That tomorrow, if they get hiccups in their lives, they get hiccups in their grades, they get hiccups in their talents, in their games, there's no need of being stressed, of feeling useless, of feeling they should commit suicide, they should feel, out of place. It becomes a backup to say, okay, we have already seen dad and mom. Sometimes when things don't work, there is a God we can count on. We can give it another try. Things will work out. So I can tell you that raising children knowing God is so powerful. So powerful. There is something that today we see young youth and teens define, like, to them what they call uh, being mm, being an important person in this world. It is being a perfectionist, having great looks, being popular. You see that kind of thing. And that thing kind of connects them sometimes to bad peer pressure groups. So, teaching children, raising children knowing God, it kind of creates what we could call the moral compass. The moral compass. There should be a definition of this is wrong and this is right. Take an example of your child being a lesbian, your child being a gay. And your child walks to you and says, me, that is what my body is telling me. That's what I feel. But remember, our feelings change. So if you raise children not knowing God, they can also come up with that idea of thinking every feeling they feel, they should just follow it. So when children grow up knowing God, they get to know certain things. Even when I feel like it's not good for me, it's not right for me. So raising our children knowing God is so powerful. It's the center, it's the foundation of every good moral in our child. And when I say raising our children knowing God, it becomes a moral compass. It does not actually mean that they may not fall. They may fall, but they have this other inner voice that says, that is not right what you're doing. And that haunting voice that keeps on coming to them, looking back at how they've been raised, it helps them to overcome that feeling, to overcome that habit, and come back on the right road. So, as parents, there is something we need to work hard on, is to first give our children the foundation, which is God. And it also helps our children not to think they are masters of their own lives. That's when humanity starts coming in. There is what they call Ubuntu, that humanity in us. It begins first by knowing God. You know, when sometimes we grow a lot of pride and feel whatever makes me happy, I do. I am in this world, I own the world. You start being self centered. But when you start knowing about God, His goodness towards you, you start knowing what God has done for you. You see God in other people. There is the way your life starts changing. You start developing kindness. They develop love. They develop forgiveness. And all those things start from just knowing God. So when I start talking about the importance of raising our children, knowing God, they are so many, and they really bring a lot in our children. Positive, positive things in our children. Even there is something I would want to add up. When we raise children as parents, there are things we struggle with. There are things we may not provide to the best. But when we connect with God and raise our children knowing God, there are things they will not feel like cast or abandoned children. Today, we have a generation where children, if they lacked anything, they start saying, "We are unplanned children. Why is it, mom or dad, you cannot provide this, yet the other family, I've seen the other parents, they can provide this?" Children get to learn something. First of all, they get to know that in that family where they've been raised by those particular parents, first of all, they get to know it is a gift from God. And to be made different, not to be exactly like the other family, that should not call for any alarm, should not call for any stress or feel neglected, but they learn to cope up, to appreciate what they have found on the ground. You see that? So it brings a sense of appreciating and saying, yes, mom or dad may not have this, but I'm happy that I'm born in this family, that these are my parents. That was the destiny. That's what God willed. So, parents out there, we could be very busy, true. We could be far away from our children. But raising our children, knowing God, is the foundation of their life. It becomes their compass, that even when you are not around, even when you're far away, that becomes their 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 hope. That becomes their source of direction. To know I have to do a right thing. My God expects me to do this, even if my parents are not around, even if they are not seeing me, I should do the right thing. So let's encourage ourselves as parents and know that as parents, we are partners. We have to work with God. We have to work with God, and God just wants us to open small chapters on certain things. The rest actually is done by Him. So let's embrace and hope our children and give them the greatest gift of knowing God. No wonder in Proverbs they say, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. You cannot start saying that you are wise, yet you have not yet known who even created you. To know the beginning part of who created you. Otherwise, bye bye. That was what I wanted to share with you. God bless you.